friend, welcome back to my channel. It's almost comical that we're having this conversation, but I thought it important that we wrap up last year's Pan That palette by giving you my final update on what the palette looks like, even though we've been in 2023 for many a month. But let's go ahead and update you on what the palette looked like 1,000 years ago. And here is where my Fame palette ended up at the end of 2022. All right, so the palette probably looks a lot different than you last saw it. A couple of just things I want to draw your attention to is that this bottom row all the way up to here were shades that I popped out. Some of them were shades that I popped out at the beginning of the challenge. Other ones were ones that I tested out in the last couple of months and realized I just didn't love them. Like formula-wise, they weren't the greatest. Color-wise, they didn't do a whole lot for me in my preferences. So I'm not adverse to getting rid of shades that don't jive with me. The other thing you'll see is that I have officially panned a bunch more shades. In total, I have for you 7 panned shades. And essentially, the progress really has slowed down between month 11 and month whatever this is at this point, because there aren't really any lid looks. The only thing I have is the most, and you can see here I've definitely put in some work on it and it's been fine, but it's not the only eye look I want to have. So I've been really coming to this palette more for, at this point, Razzle and Stardom for my like crease aspect, and then whenever I'm doing some kind of pinky look, I'll come in with Celeb as just like my base from my eyebrow all the way down to the top of my hooded eye. So again, not a ton of like going to use this for every single aspect of my look, so things have certainly slowed down. But over the course of this project, to basically be left with only one shadow that doesn't have some kind of pan showing, considering the fact that like I really didn't wear a ton of makeup in the new year because of having a child and being home and not really applying a lot of makeup during my maternity leave. I mean, there were weeks I went without putting any makeup on my face. Knowing that I still accomplished this was awesome. It feels so good, and it proves to me how much I really loved this palette, because I hummed and hawed about purchasing it. I knew I loved the color story, but I was like, do I really need to have it? Would I really use it that much? And I just, from the jump, always loved this palette. So I'm really happy to have gotten this much usage out of it. I know this is a really short update, but it's because I want to switch gears and talk to you about what I've been doing the past few months in this new year. And I really hit a roadblock for the first time in my palette panning journey. I mean, I've been doing this for a number of years and I've always loved it. But as I was entering December, which is typically when I start to pull palettes out and like narrow it down and test them out and see if I really want to actually pan one of them, I found myself not wanting to really do that. Like I found myself being like, I want to use this fully up, but like, let's be honest, there's not enough in here to want to really follow the trajectory of this. I knew perhaps by like July, this would probably be done. And it's also boring to see like, ooh, watch me pan 4 shades. Whoop-de-doo. Like I wouldn't want to watch that. Why would you? So then I started thinking more realistically about another palette that I've just naturally been drawn to, and I've hummed and hawed about wanting to pan it because I also am not sure how fun it would be to watch me pan that palette, and that is the custom palette I made for myself a while back. I basically am a cool-hearted gal in my core. I love cool toned eyeshadows. And you might see that if you watched that video 100 years ago, and I'll link it up here in case you want to watch me build it, I've definitely made some tweaks and changes to it, but it is a cool lover's dream in my personal opinion. I essentially built this with a few thoughts in mind. What I loved about this palette was that it had essentially what I call like go-to looks for me. On a given day, I'm looking for either a gold look, a pink look, or some kind of bronzy look. But then I recall distinctly from my Pirates of the Caribbean palette, I actually really found a new love of like this icy, cool, kind of like silvery bone champagne, like very like cool champagne color. So I also wanted to build that in there. And then when I was looking at what else I had in my collection, cool purple. Oh yeah, big fan of cool purple. So this is what I have been pulling from. I will tell you, there's a lot of variation in brands, but the biggest reoccurring thing I have in here, or the biggest representatives I have, would be ColourPop shades are in here. I have Sydney Grace, Cleona shadows are in here. And then I also have some Dismantle palettes. So I've got, this is from like, I think Too Faced. I've got this one, I think these two are from a Lorac palette. I don't know where some of the other ones are from, if I'm being totally honest. This one is a Sephora one. So I have essentially, since January started, I've been pulling this in for like go-to crease, and then coming in here either for my pale, like skin tone matching, why can't I think of the word? Tan? What is bone color? Whatever this is. I've been using this anytime I'm not doing a pink look, and then finding my lid shade in here. And then anytime I want to do like a purple or some kind of crease look that doesn't have the shades in here, I pull exclusively from this, and I'm actually really loving it. Again, I know it's not necessarily the most exciting, which is probably why I have belabored filming this, because filming time is very challenging in my schedule, but also because I'm not sure how exciting it is to watch me pan this. So please let me know in the comments below if you would like to see me going forward give you updates on this each month. I will definitely do my best to do that. But if you're not interested in that kind of content, that's cool. I can just take a year off from talking about my Pan That palette and maybe find an interest in a palette that I want to use that's been pre-made from a brand. But if nothing else, I have finally given you and myself the closure for the 2022 project that I just had not yet given you. As always, I very much appreciate you being here, and I'll maybe see you in a future Pan That palette update for this year if it is something of interest to my fabulous community. But as always, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.